the integration of the different organizations, or we may talk about the different marketing systems have been blended, have been indulged. When to talk about the tourism industry, or we may talk about tourism marketing is concerned. And whenever we talk about the tourism marketing, I have already told, a lots of, as you means, a series of organizations, a series of the persons who have been involved in it. And therefore, we talk about in all over the world today, dear friends, the tourism industry is one of the biggest and the large scale industries. As a result, in all over the world, there is the competitions to sell their cultural heritage, to sell their tourism destinations, or we may talk about the tourist products. And in this regard, dear friends, when we're talking about the star category hotels, means the hotels are being the stars, two-star, three-star, four-star, five-star. So we are talking about how what is the responsibilities, how to locate the star category hotels in the tourism marketing. We call it more particularly the accommodation marketing. Now, in this context, dear friends, there are certain objectives are taken care of. The first objective, why the star category hotels are taken care of, what is the necessity of it, and how far it contributes a lot for energize or to activate the we are talking about the tourism marketing through accommodations, because we have already discussed the difference the tourism possibilities of the tourism industry, or may talk about the sustainability of the tourism industry, is purely reflected on the satisfactions of the tourists. If we may talk about the sustainability of the goods, it is purely based on the satisfactions of the customers or the consumers. So, dear friends, keeping in view of that, the first objective, that is characteristics of the accommodation marketing. And whenever we talk about the accommodation marketing exactly means to sell the hotels, to sell the motels, to sell the resorts, to sell, if we talk about go to the Manali of Himachal Pradesh, there is the homestay, a new concept that has been developed, that has been emerged. Want to talk about to facilitate or to make the tourism industry more viable. And in this regard, dear friends, we are talking about the first point, that is called the characteristics of the accommodation marketing. The second objective we may talk about it, that is the different concepts of the marketing activities relating to the accommodation. The third one we are talking about, dear friends, there are the different kinds of the demands by the states, and they are marketing the task, particularly the intent. And the fourth one we're talking about the strategies, the various steps being taken by the hoteliers. If you may talk about the in case of Odisha, particularly Bhubaneswar, we see the star category hotels like the Mempire, the Sostis. We might talk about the Newmarian. Sure, there are so many, the Sandys, there are so many star category hotels, and each and every hotel has its own strategy, has its own marketing system, has its own, we are talking about the steps taken by the hoteliers. And another important thing is here, which is taken into the account, that is difference, the problems and the challenges. It is a fact we want to talk about in all over the world. We must keep in mind, the hoteliers particularly keep in mind that what is the percentage, what is the percentage of the star category people, or may talk with the tourists, who we are or who are roam around. That we must keep in mind, dear friends. And in this regard, I'm talking about the star category hotels generally facing so many challenges. Though there is the sense of the opportunities, but still then, each and every star category hotels are facing the challenges and the problems. Regarding what? Regarding I'm talking about to sell their hotels, to sell their rooms, to sell their service, to sell their questions. So on the basis of it, we are talking about the star category hotels are existed only because of keeping in view of the tourists' demand, the tourist satisfaction, and the tourist grievances. If the hotel could have been able to fulfill it, then yes, there is the. If you may talk about the case of Bhubaneswar, of Odisha, in case of yeah, India too, whenever we talk with the Taj, we may talk about the Sahara, we may talk about the Ila properties. We are talking the Kalinga Ashoka. So in all over India, there are so many star category hotels are there, but when there is the stop of the influx of the tourists to the star hotels are in trouble as far as to maintain its status. To maintain, yeah, I want to talk about the financial feasibilities. And it was all about the difference. I told the star category hotels is quite important, no doubt. It is just like the pool anchor, the switch anchor. It is just like the switch anchor to pull down the sheaves of the tourism marketing. So now coming to keeping in view of these four and five major objectives that we are proceed towards. Coming to defense. Marketing is a very common phenomenon. Marketing is a very common phenomenon. How to say? If I talk about a teacher, how a teacher is marketed. A teacher is marketed. What the teacher markets? A teacher markets his values, his knowledge, his discipline. So everywhere we are notice that a kind of marketing system is in working in the society. It may be different when we're talking about marketing. It's a common phenomenon, as I told, in every field. It may be the food, it may be the administration, it may be the government, it may be the academic institutions, it may be the tourism industry, it may be the products which are needed by the common people. So from that point of difference, we're talking about marketing is a very common phenomenon. And everywhere we notice there is the marketing system. And the question comes, whenever we talk about it, may be the goal marketing or we're talking about the service marketing. And when to talk about teacher, the teacher is extends the service marketing. And it is a fact, it is a happen, it is a common phenomenon in all over the world. The teacher who extends the best service, the teacher who extends the best teaching service towards the students' fraternity, towards the students' community, that we must keep in mind a difference. I'm talking about the service marketing means in form of its personality, in the name of its the teaching capacity, in sense of his the behavior, attitude, and mannerism, and how for a teacher is involved himself and to talk about it to provide a better pace of research-oriented educations. And difference I'm talking about service marketing nowadays is more accomplished and it may be the profitable and non-profitable. So marketing is always moves in high and low, ups and downs. Whenever difference, we are talking about what? Whenever we are talking about the sensex is concerned. Now we are going to discuss there are the two kind of the marketing in a broad sense. I told one is the goods marketing. Goods exactly mitigates the demands of the commons. And it may be the people belong to the different stratas of the society. It may be the people who are suffering from the financial crunch, the financial crisis as a means, and the people who are living in the upper stratas of the society, each and everybody in the society, maybe the rich, maybe the poor. maybe the heroes, maybe the heroines, maybe the labor, whatever we talk about, the human fraternity having good marketing. Therefore, the good marketings are sustained. And service marketing is the different kind of the people have extended their service. They market their service. Sometimes it is profitable. Sometimes it is non-profitable. So marketing is the combination of both. Now coming to particularly the tourism sector, lots of marketing efforts are taken care for destinations. I'm talking about the tourism industry. Everybody knows, dear friends, the tourism marketing is more live, is more viable, is more acute in nature. Because of what? The varieties of the marketing system involved. It may be the tour and operators, it may be the travel agencies, it may be the tourist guides, it may be the local cuisines, it may be the local traditions, or we may talk the role of the government level organizations, public sectors, the private sectors may talk about themselves, and at the governmental level, that means a group of the people. So tourism industry is the combination of so many marketing efforts. And now coming to dear friends, whenever we are talking about accommodation marketing, it can be studied through certain approaches that we must keep in mind, dear friends. The accommodation marketing can be studied, it can be highlighted, can be explained through the various approaches. And in this regard, we have to talk about the process of the accommodation marketing. Yes, these are first one is marketing activity concept and analyzing. The second approach is understand and the various demand level. The third one, dear friends, the developing a marketing strategy as per the hotel missions. So keeping in view of these, we are talking about the accommodation marketing is energized. And now, dear friends, whenever we may talk about, whenever we may talk about the accommodation marketing, how accommodation marketing is made, it's a difficult, dear friends, to think of. Everybody knows when to talk about the marketing of the goods. We see the different kind of the marketing services include. Because suppose we are using a simple example of the pen for the better understanding, or the bottle, the clothes, the anything, soap, dough, shampoos, the medicines, anything achievements, any good we want to for the cause of the mankind. It is involved with the marketing of services and accommodation marketing that we must keep in mind, dear friends. The accommodation marketing falls between the tools. One is the goods. Goods exactly means the sale of the vegetables, the sales of man's, the man being's daily utility. And whenever we talk of the service, that we must keep in mind the service accommodation. It is we call it the accommodation marketing. Then we may talk about the services, goods, services, and services we call it the services of the laundry. So question comes, dear friends, whenever we talk of the accommodation marketing, that is the responsibility of the hoteliers, that is the responsibility of the moteliers, the hoteliers, and also that is the responsibility of the stakeholders. How they can market the accommodation, the place of halting, the place of resting achievements, how that can be marketed. And in this regard, the first one we must keep in mind, dear friends, accommodations we are getting in the different places, in the guest house, in the star hotels, in we may talk about the Panthanivas, if we may talk of the stay home, short stay home, And in this regard, in all over the world, there are resorts, hotels. It may be the five star, or we may talk about the two star, all the non stars. But the hotels generally provides the accommodation, and it is the fact. How far the tourists here satisfied? That is important. And accommodation marketing is sustained because of the sustainability of the, as you mentioned, your friends, the sustainability of the accommodations. Now, questions. Generally, what the accommodation marketing covers? The accommodation marketing covers, the friends, the accommodation marketing covers the three important items. The first item we are talking about it, that is the rooms of the particular size. It is the factor difference when to talk about in the star hotels. We have to cutting across the king size bed, double bed, single bed. The difference king size room, we are talking about the big room, the small room, the middle room. So question comes, this it comes under the accommodations. And in the accommodation, marketing means how the room or how the rooms are, whether the rooms are well furnished or lesser furnished. And to talk about according to the tourists, according to the populations, the place is marketed. And now question comes difference I'm talking about in the accommodation marketing. We what is exactly we sell, we market rooms of a particular size. So difference that we must keep in mind. What is that? That is the according to the room size. Suppose in a five-star hotel, a tourist from America, a tourist from the foreign countries with the family, they must prefer the king size room. That I'm talking about room of a particular size. And it is the fact if the hotel doesn't provide that kind of the rooms of the particular size to the tourists, at the meantime, what would be happen? At the meantime, the tourist may leave to that accommodation. And in this regard, we're talking about the room of particular size is the one of the part. And second one is the furnishing. It is the prime concern, dear friends. The furnishing of room is the prime concern because it has the positive contributions. Whenever a tourist gets satisfaction, the well-furnished room, you may talk about its floor, you may talk about its walls, you may talk about whether the floor room is smellless or the full of smells. So keeping in view of the many things, and when to talk about the furnishing also, the room requires some laundry, the require some laundry, and it is the fact that how far the hotel is furnished, well maintained starting from the Darwan to the director, each and everybody should work according to their jurisdictions and they should maintain properly. So, keeping in view of that, the friends I'm talking about, the furnishing is another important. Therefore, the hoteliers they are preferring when to talk about the food and services is concerned, dear friends. It is believed on the food and services, or we are talking the food and beverage is believed on the garnishing of the foods, how the foods are well garnished, and because of there is the mark also, and there is the way to promote the hotels. This is the second element, and I'm talking about a different. The third element. The third element is the physical location. Yes, it is the fact. The accommodation marketing means the hoteliers are, or the hoteliers are keeping in mind that the physical location of the star hotel is the most pertinent because if the properties are the centrally located, then the tourists are getting the lesser troubles. So that is our responsibility. That is the responsibility of the state as well as the stakeholders. The Department of Tourism (ITDC) or may talk about the Origin Tourism Organization (OTDC), or we will talk about the Department of the Tourism Government Bodies and India in case of India is concerned, dear friends, they are trying their level best to look after the physical locations where exactly the five-star properties are there. It is difficult, not only in India, in all over the world it is different. We in all over the world, we people cutting across, we people cutting across the hotels. The tourists are cutting across the hotels in all over the world and maximum because that is the prime concern of the hoteliers, the entrepreneurs, that to establish to reconstruct the hotels, five-star hotels with the physical locations means the hotel, the property must be well communicated by the all-weather roads. And now we are going to discuss, dear friends, coming to, I told, the rooms of the particular sizes, furnishing, and the physical locations. Okay, relating to its climate, relating to its the seasons, relating to its the role achievements as well as the strategies. So now coming to difference, want to talk about the characteristics. It is another important aspects of, I'm talking about difference. Just before going to talk about the services, yeah, just before the characteristics of the accommodation market, I would like to say something about the services element. What are the services element? Services element means through which people are getting the service. We call it the services element. And in this context, dear friends, okay, there is the, we are talking about the services element. The first one is well coordinated and the furnishing. So well coordinated because I told in the tourism sector there are so many personnel organizations working not only in case of India but also in the case of the whole world. And in this regard, difference the services elements what it includes. It includes it's studied. I told the well coordinated are the furnishing, then comfortable is the room, then pleasant in the lifestyle, and quick and efficient rooms, etc. So ultimately, we came to know that the services is also another important aspect when to talk about the accommodation marketing is concerned. And now going to discuss about the characteristics. We are going to discuss about the characteristics. So, dear friends, whenever we talk about the characteristics, today we are going to discuss the how far the accommodation marketing is facilitated and is working properly. And I told regarding the accommodation marketing, one must keep in mind what is that? That is, when we are talking about the accommodation marketing difference, one can market the comfortable rooms to the tourists. Second, the pleasure of the staffs. Whenever the in the five-star hotels, the serviceman, starting from the front office, starting from the entrance of the security guard, till the manager, if each and every person is duty bounteous, not only I'm not talking about the only finance bounty here, only the tell me difference I'm talking about the present of the staffs. Yes, it is the fact the varieties of the staffs are taking the service, are supplying the service in the hotel areas. The varieties of the staffs. When to talk of the front office to the lobby, to the housekeeping, to the beverage, to the manager, to the deputy manager, to the like this. A group of the personnel, they are working together. And whenever we talk of the characteristics, it is two in types. The characteristics of the accommodation surveys is two in types. The first one is difference. That is called the intangibility, and second one is intangibility. So keeping in view of the intangibility difference, the service that go along with the accommodation are intangible. That means Service that go along with accommodation are intangible. That means if I talk about between you and me, difference I'm talking about. Last 6, 7 days, we all have gone through it in details regarding myself as well as the tourism possibilities, the tourism marketing is concerned. And a difference here I'm taking the service, I'm talking about the service that go along with the accommodation are intangible. And without accommodation, we call it the tangible. But it becomes nearly possible for the customers peculiar to the goods and the services sector, goods and the services sector associated accommodation. And basically, the accommodation is made due to what? The accommodation marketing is made due to the state has the statesmanship. They notice that in the state of Ghana, there is the lesser foods. And now I'm talking about the difference in context to actually rent out of the room, I told. Similarly, many hoteliers understand the problems, introduce the farm trips, in we have discussed in the last class. And these trips are the concluded at the different interval of the time. And similarly, whenever we talk about the difference, the heterogeneity scholar, the school of education. Curricular, the heterogeneity scope of. Hello, hello. I'm talking about the difference. The heterogeneity. It is another characteristics of the accommodation market. We see it becomes very difficult, friends, to standardize each unit. Yes, whenever we talk about the accommodation industry, there is the front office, there is the lobby, there is the housekeeping, there is the food and beverage. So, for your information, we came to know that in that industry, there are so many industries, never the 40, what I know, that much of calorie we are getting. So, dear friends, whenever we are talking about it, whenever we are talking about uh, the heterogeneity and that we must keep in mind, it becomes very difficult to standardize each unit and each unit through supposed to be providing the same service. It is the fact sometimes whenever we are talking about the front office what supplies? The front office supplies the information about the best service of the hotel. And the front office also records the arrival and the departure. And when we talk about therefore in each and every five-star properties, the front office 60% sells the accommodation when to talk about the room is concerned, when to talk of the service is concerned. And from that point of view, in the hospitality industry, in the tourism destination, as you mean, the big hotels are being considered as the particular the front office is considered as the mirror of the hotels. And dear friends, whenever we talk about the front office, yes, the people who are appointed at the front office, they are well get up, well tuned up, and they were so when to talk about the beautiful girls generally are posted at the front office with the sound and the volcanic communication skills. And in this regard, the friends, when to talk about, though there may be 20 seat deluxe suites in the hotel, each one's location in the hotel, the decor, etc., would be different. That I'm talking about how far accommodation marketing is there. And in the accommodation marketing, we see generally the five-star hotels play a very vital role. And we are talking about, suppose a five-star hotel, we may talk about the Taj in India, or we may talk about the Kalinga Ashoka in Delhi, or if I talk about in Bhubaneswar, the Mayfair. In each and every five-star hotel, there is the AC deluxe source. And for your information, dear friends, each and every suit and its locations, each and every suit and its the decor is different. The decoration is different. and the room service is for a particular room may be better than the others. And it is dependent on when to talk about the good service. The good service in the five-star properties, particularly the hotels, is dependent on the service extended by the service fellows who we are working over there, starting from the service manager, food and beverage service manager. We may talk the housekeeping. We may talk about the food production, the chef. We may talk about the manager. We may talk about the accountant. So, for your information, dear friends, a large number of the people are engaged, particularly in the accommodation marketing, and therefore the difference might also occur on different days. You just imagine how accommodation industry can be studied in the eyes of the micro level analysis. Rather, the friends, we are talking about the macros. And now coming to, I'm talking about a difference. I'm talking about the uh, accommodation marketing that we have already discussed. Now coming to the, just a second, dear friends. Yes, I'm talking about the characteristics. I'm talking about the characteristics. And when to talk of the characteristics, yes, we discuss it is the heterogeneity point of view. So now coming to the another aspects, that is marketing activity concept. So okay, a difference okay, we must keep in mind the marketing activity concept as it means in a simple word. If we are talking about the marketing activity concept, can be studied under the five sections, the five parameters. And prior to it, we are talking about the Drucker, the Peter Drucker, who has given the definitions regarding, I'm talking about, regarding the marketing is so best that it cannot be considered a separate function. I'm talking about the definitions according to the Peter Drucker. He has pointed out that marketing is so basic that it cannot be considered a separate function, and it is the whole business seen from the point of view of its final product, and that is from the customer's point of view. I'm talking about your friends. The marketing activity concept can be studied under the production concept. It can be studied under the production concept, number one. So now we are going to discuss what is the production concept. Yes, it is believed that a customer, a consumer will always in favor those products are widely available and in low in cost. So just to keep in mind, that is called the production concept. It is the mindset of the scholars, it is the mindset of the customers, the consumers, the mindset of the tourists. What is that? So for your information, dear friends, that is the customer always in search of it. A tourist, national, international, regional, and interregional difference that we're talking about it. Yes, we must keep in mind what is the, that is a customer is always in search of the window. A customer is always in search of the facilities. What is that? That is the product is highly available and low in cost. Then there should be the demand. And the role of the management is also taken into the account, achieving the high production efficiency and the distribution coverage. So people see, just I'm talking about the newspapers. I may give the example newspaper as the product for the tourists, as it means. So if we talk about in Odisha, as well as in all over the world, the same concept we are having it. So difference, what is that? That is how far the product covers. And in this regard, another thing is to achieve the high production efficiency and the wide distribution coverage, it requires a sound and stable managerial system. So starting from the entrepreneur to the sales executive. So each and everybody should work keeping in view of one objective that how to make their product in the world market as a large selling product. And in terms of the hotels, we're talking about as the accommodation marketing. Yes, the hotels we can interpret to be the wide availability of the rooms at various locations. It may be at a regional, at inter-regional, at national, and the international. So, difference when we talk about the hotel as the means of the accommodation, yes, each and every destination of the state, like Odisha, we talk about India or the world together, it must the hotels or the accommodation should be hosted at the destinations and keeping in view of the sufficient availability of the rooms and the rooms starting from the non-AC, AC, so the vehicle by walking, by bus. So manifold factors are responsible that we must keep in mind, dear friends. And the problem that is very often faced in the kind of situation, the accommodation might be reality available, the emphasis on quality and the service is another. Not only the accommodation mitigate the demands of the tourists, unless and until the tourists or unless and until one is not satisfied with the service, with the service and the quality is extended. So this is called the production concept. So we came to know that generally the producers might have been noticed in the mind. That is what the things should be taken care of in context to the production concept. So we have gone through it. A producer must possesses. I'm talking about the varieties of the services, and it can satisfy only one particular kind of the market segment. And if you may talk about the big burgers, if you may talk about the malls in all over the world, it couldn't mitigate the single objectives. It mitigates the varieties of the objectives, keeping in view from the grassroots level to the, we may talk about the difference to the upper stratas. Now coming to the product concept, we discussed the production concept. Now we're talking about the product concept. Product concept means what the product should be. So under this concept, a consumer, a customer will favor those products that offer the most quality. Yes. So the producers, we are demanded by the customers, by the consumers of the tourists, that to produce the best quality as far as the tourism marketing system is concerned. And here the customers will favor that products, those products that offer the most quality. And that we must keep in mind, dear friends, the product should be quality based. And also it contains some the prices, costs, which can mitigate the all people in the society, all the sections of the society. And in this regard, dear friends, it was another concept that is the focus for the marketing is to make good products that the more them, more time. It have the difference, the focus of the marketing. We see or we must keep in mind the focus of marketing. So that is the responsibility of the public sector. When we talk about the government as well as the tertiary sectors, that what is that? That means to look after very simple to say, dear friends, the goods are focused on the marketing system. In the tourism industry, we will have difference. In the tourism industry, we have hotels, motels, resorts that built off their reputations for quality and not only the maintain and strive to improve it over a period of time. So two concepts we are talking about is the concept, product concept, accommodation is the product. And here one must think that I'm talking about, and the friends, what is that? That is in every tourist destinations, the accommodation is play a very key role. And whenever we talk about the implementation of the concept of accommodation, at first, that is the job of the hoteliers to improve, to enhance the condition of the hotels, keeping in view of the multitude effects and the privilege I may talk about it. And for example, yes, acquire fans, then while earlier them, the which improves the freedom of, yes, difference. Uh, we're talking about exactly, yes, the production concept. And whenever we talk of the production concept, I told that every country they propagate, they promote the accommodation as the tourist product. And whenever the accommodation product, each and every hotelier is in practice and more active, even if they don't have the time to, how to say, to operate it. And keeping in view of that difference, for the progress was to more sophisticated. Hence, the tourists are the varieties in cost varieties in the communities. When we talk about the sophistication, then it would be more better. It will be more better. Now, question comes to difference. Another product, I am talking about the product concept means we're talking about the selling concepts. And whenever we talk of the selling, the concept, the accommodation, having the lobby, so having the breakfast, the lunch, the supper, and having the deluxe room, having the semi-deluxe room, having the AC rooms, but not on the basis of the commerce as exactly we mean. And selling concept here, the job of the front office that how to sell the rooms, when to talk of the accommodations, how to sell their cuisines. And in this regard, we may talk about it is believed that a customer is felt alone. He felt alone. I'm talking about it is believed that a consumer it felt alone will ordinary, not by enough of organizations products. I have 10 rupees, so I must think of according to the 10. You have 100 rupees, you must think of according to your standard. So that thing is concept, the selling concept is there. So marketing here undertakes an aggressive selling and promotion efforts. So from time to time, you people might have noticed the hoteliers, the new year is coming, English Navavarsa. So on the occasion of, you see that the companies, the organizers, the public sectors, they are selling some instruments that cannot, okay, dear friends, I'm talking about the marketing here undertakes an aggressive selling and the promotion efforts. Every country wants to come forward to sell the properties, to sell their different, if we may talk about YouTube. Okay. So question comes, we may talk about in India, if you may take an example of India, it is the aggressive selling concept which is most popular in all over the world. So the goal here becomes to get the sale irrespective of the post purchases and the satisfaction. I'm talking about in each and every tourist place, as you mean the friends, or we may talk about the that time I'm coming to in the month of February, and more particularly another one is yes, the friends. We are talking about in India now. The concept, selling concept is very popular because we see in the hotels the SC deluxe suite are fully occupied, but a single non-AC room is available. It means what? Whenever we may talk of the accommodation for the foreign tourists, there must be the facilities of that we are talking to dear friends, prospective customers. I'm talking about. And the receptionist then tries to judge the prospect. I have already told the receptionist the front office, as you know. And the customers might be equally well served by the non-AC single room and the AC double room. Here the question comes. So marketing industry is also reflected through the market. The market. I'm talking about it, your friends. The market friends. Now coming to the marketing concept itself, the selling of the concept in the tourism sector, particularly in the accommodation, armaments, or we may talk about the admins, we came to know that he was well known about his responsibilities. And particularly when to talk the marketing concept, marketing concept is to achieve the goals of the individuals as well as the goals of the organization. And friends, yes, it determines the needs and the wants of the target customers and delivering the desired satisfaction. So it is the fact, dear friends. The difference here is that while selling persons, while selling focuses on the needs of the seller, I mean, it is the fact whenever anyone is supposed to contribute 1 lakh rupees for the sustainability of the marketing concept, what would be happen? You might have noticed one thing, the difference here is that while selling focuses on the goods, on the needs of the world, and marketing is the convinced with the need of the year. I am talking about the difference. Chilo, talking to the continuing the previous example, the receptionist could have made the customers comfortable in the lobby. So that is called known as the lobby. When to talk about in the private sectors or the public sectors also, we may talk about it, where the receptionist who is sitting or has been sitting. We are using the term that is the lobby also we may call it. And also we may talk about the difference, the continuity of the persons or the previous examples, that is the receptionist could have made the customers comfortable in the lobby. So that is the responsibility of the receptionist to take the motto, to take the grievances of the customers, whether the customer is satisfied within the lobby, then go ahead. So according to his jurisdictions, and in the meantime, just after giving 4 5s, and it might have reached up to the 50. And that we may talk about it, your friends. That is the responsibility of the receptionist, or may talk about the front office dealers. They knew very well the shackles of the tourists, the shackles of the customers, the consumers. So, according to the shackles of the customers, the consumers, as well as the tourists, the accommodation marketing is properly channelized by the front office, or we may talk with the front desk. And if I talk about the difference, though the hotel would have missed this particular sale, but they would have good a very loyal customer for the future. So it is the fact that when we talk the private sectors, as well as in the government sector, the public sector too, unless and until the person is dynamic, he or she is facing so many problems. He or she is facing so many the color classes or many things might have been happened. And now we're talking about the star category hotels that though the guest enters the hotel as a stranger and he should leave it as a friend, and the hotel efforts should be direct in the north. Yeah, I'm talking about direct in not letting this finishing is shun. So last but not the least difference, I'm talking about the social marketing concept. Yes. For information, the social marketing concept difference is one of the important areas, the important mean, and it means satisfying the interests of the consumers in a way that it does not harm the society. And difference when to talk about it, for example, The hotel guest may be a chain smoker. The hotel guest may be chain smoker, and it would be important for him to have his needs satisfied. But in the other hand, dear friends, yet to maintain the nobles in the society, certain areas that should be designed as a no smoking area. It is able to talk about it today, the foreigners, and talk about the people who have been considered as the tourists. They belong to our community or they belong to the different community, the matter of the fact. And keeping in view of that, dear friends, we came to know that the social marketing concept is important also. It cannot be neglected. Then demand levels and the marketing task, as we mentioned, dear friends, there are uh, another parameters regarding the levels of the marketing task, level of the marketing task. That means what kind of the I'm talking about difference, the marketing task. The marketing task for the hotelier, as we want to take him, is finally dependent on his organization's philosophy, which is exemplified by the marketing activity. So, difference I'm talking about, what to talk about in the marketing, uh, that we may say, just a second, dear friends. Yes, I'm talking about the marketing level, demand levels and the marketing task. It is two demands. One is the negative demands, another one is the non-demands. And similarly, the latent demands, we may talk about the falling demands. And in the same time, we are talking about why and under which circumstances the negative demand is there. Difference, we have noticed that if a manager part of the market dislikes, okay, difference. I'm talking about what? I'm talking about the negative demand. And to overcome these remorse, the management decided to have a massive and training campaign from, I'm talking about the difference, from the different corners. And when to talk the marketing task involved in this commercial marketing is to analyze the reasons for negative and try to begin the friends I'm talking to try to begin the change the marketing fields, beliefs, and attitudes. So negative demand is there, other than non-demand. Sometimes it is happened that the tourists are not demanded because in this the conversational marketing is to analyze the reasons for the negative demand and to try to change. I'm talking about difference the marketing beliefs and attitudes. That is called I'm talking about the no demand exists when the largest or the target customers are uninterested or indifferent to the new product. The third one is the latent demand, the fourth one is the falling demand, and the fifth one is full demand, sixth one, seventh one is the overall demand. So now the friends we are going to discuss the another aspects that is called challenges. Formulating marketing strategy. We are going to discuss the formulating marketing strategy. So, dear friends, I'm talking about what? I'm talking about, I am talking about, there are many strategic plannings. Analyze one can analyze the situation, develop. I'm talking about the situation, analyze the situation or the situation developers, develop mission Sardar Bhai Patel and Mahatma Gandhi, the President of India. Sorry, I'm talking about a difference. Develop missions, statement, and the objectives. The next one, the determining issues, particularly the composition and the strategies. Make the line the determinant business, known as the commercial of international. I am talking about the business unit and the designing marketing. So just to talk about the difference. The first one we're talking about the situation. Suppose a tourist from Ukraine, a tourist from Russia visited to the land of India. The tourist of Russia belongs to and landed in India. His first job is to analyze the situation, whether he destined on the monuments or met with the religious places or met with scenic beauty, eco retreat, or we talk about the motels, the hotels. So many things are there. A tourist must keep in mind that what he is going to and where he is going to reside, that must be taken care of it, dear friends. And in this regard, I'm talking about the analysis of the situation. The If we may talk the analysis of the situation, dear friends, we must keep in mind where particularly the destination of the tourist is located. That can be taken care of, or that we must keep in mind, dear friends. And number two, as we may, whenever we are talking about, dear friends, that is called the analysis of the situation. First of all, just before destined to the destination, the tourist's responsibility is to look after the situations, whether the situation is favorable, whether there the favorable wind or there is the less favorable wind. That must be keep in mind situation and the demands of the tourists from which district, from which states has divided more. That another concept we may talk. Similarly, difference I'm talking about the determining the business. How to determine the business, how to accelerate the business, because of the ultimate goal of the business is profit, because every individual is working keeping in view of that profit, not the profit for the temporary. So now coming to the designing marketing mix. If people see that every tourist product or the product of the customers or the consumers, it needs to the proper design because it attracts the tourists. I am just giving simple example. Whenever we talk about the designing marketing, it may be the responsibility of the marketing manager. It is the responsibility, dear friends, when to talk about the accommodation marketing, tourism marketing, the destination marketing is concerned. And these are the parameters. Analyze the situation. We may talk about develop the mission, movement, and the objectives. Third one is determining the business, comprehension, compositions. And the fourth one is we are talking about designing. So now, dear friends, we are talking about what? We are talking about the another aspects of it that we may talk about for your information, dear friends. We are talking about the analyze the situations. Yes. So in this context, I already told somehow we discussed regarding the analyze the situation. So keeping in view of the situation, whether there is a favorable way towards the tourist marketing or not, that we may talk about. It is a crucial step, most pertinent step, and some scholars have been pointed out that it is the first and the foremost preliminary study. I'm talking the analysis of the situation. So to study the situation, it may be the man-made situation, it may be the social situations, difference that we must keep in mind. And whenever we talk about the social environment, just I am repeating, that is the demographic environment. Social environment, we call it the demographic environment. And more so professionally managed companies, like you may talk about the entry of a multinational company has led to the requirement of the hotels which can offer the best to the yes difference I'm talking to. That is similarly the entry of multinational companies has to the requirement of the hotels which can offer the best to international business. So this is called the one thing. Another thing we may talk about the economic environment. Then there is the political empowerment. Then we're talking about the technological empowerment. And I'm talking about, dear friends, उसके बाद that we are talking about the technological environment, the micro environment, and most important thing is here, the hotel itself is one of the marketing strategy. The hotels, the restaurants, or we may talk about the laws. Also, the attitude, hopes, and the beliefs of the top management influence to the great extent. So, a tourist or the officers, they must have extend the service. That we must keep in mind, number one. And number two, we say that we may say attitude, hopes, beliefs of the top management influence to the great extent, and what the organization cannot be. For example, I'm talking to dear friends. Exam is, for example, a hotel following a strict hierarchical setup might, I'm talking about your dear friends, the attitudes of and the beliefs of the top management influence to a great extent what the organization can do. Example, the hotel following the strict hierarchical setup and might discourse the junior employees in setting of a complaint of the guest. And it is the fact whenever the guest is puts the complaint, that means the guest is not satisfied. And if a day the hoteliers are getting the 10,000 or the 5,000 of the grievances, it is required to draw the attention of their, we may talk about the president. So now going to discuss about the difference, the purchase demand department, that is the purchase department's task is to pursue, to procure and make available subjects to the rest of the hotel. It is the fact, dear friends. Any log city assuming made. So suppliers are also responsible when to talk about the hotel is concerned. The hotel is supplied by or the suppliers. Like we may talk about the food grains, we may talk about the non-veg, the fish, we may talk about the exactly the wheat. I'm talking about the carrots. So the varieties of the concepts being emerged and the varieties of the suppliers they supply. Some supply the food, some supply the service, some supply to yeah. If people say that you are getting it, suppliers are the business firms. Suppliers are the business firms, and the responsibility is to send your business to them. And in this regard, I am talking about that. Now, coming to challenges and the problems. So now, dear friends, whenever we talk about the challenges and the problems, it is a common phenomenon. The challenges and promotes is a common phenomenon in context to the tourism marketing is concerned. Now we are going to discuss the five-star hotels, what the benefits they are getting, or we may talk about what the loss they have made. Two things. We are talking about difference, the two concepts. One is how far the hoteliers, the accommodation, marketing gets the benefit or the beneficiary by the customers, by the tourists, by the consumers. So that you must keep in mind also. How far they could able to mitigate the challenges, the problems. So dear friends, I'm talking about the star category hotels by virtue or having got star accreditation, accreditation enjoy a distinct advantage vis-a-vis other accommodations. Sometimes whenever we talk, the universities are studied by and measured by the NAC team. Similarly, in context to the star hotels in all over the world, what we see, the star accreditation enjoy a distinct advantage because the people, the tourists, they might have an influx. Only to that hotel, the hotel got the Guinness Book of Records. And in a dog eat dog kind of composition, the Congress do not stand a very good chance. I'm talking about what? This Congress could not sustain for long years, could not success for the long years. Why I'm talking about it, dear friends? I'm talking about the dog eat dog kind of a compilation. The undergoes to do stand a very good chance. What does it means? It means we are talking about what? It means the dog eat dog kind of the competition. In the marketing system, competition is so vulnerable, and each and every owner has tried his level best that to create and promote and to sort out the challenges and the problems. And it is therefore imperative for those categories, star category of the hotels, Tara, Sitara, Sahara, and to have good linkage with the tourism and travel trade. Full stop. So now question comes. I'm talking to. So what are the challenges faced by? I'm talking about the challenges. Every tourist destination, we talk about the tourist destination, not we talk about every tourist destination, but we're talking about the destination because Alvarta. So now question comes, the discount policy is an era where a lot of ambiguity exists. And it is the fact that we are talking, this is our, we are fortunate because we have lots of the potencies as well as we have the lots of the Padmalaya, full stop. So now question comes to friends. I'm talking to the fluctuating demand is another problem. First of all, we see the problem relating to the ground, relating to physiography. Here the complaint. And the next one, whenever we talk about the complaint is made through the mouth or a written part. I'm talking. So now, dear friends, for example, the accommodation industry challenges the manifold issues, manifold problems. As a result, from time to time, they have made their own strategy under which circumstances they may give the chuti, as means the holiday, or they may give the incentives, and in which sections generally we are not getting the inspections. Who is getting? Now, coming to dear friends, the alternative accommodations. Dear friends, we're talking about the alternative accommodations. Accommodations, we came to know that it is one of the important marketing system. I told the alternative accommodation is not relating to the five-star category hotels. It is relating to for your information the motels, it is relating to resorts, it is relating to stay homes, it is relating to the private sectors, residence means. So this is called the alternative accommodation beyond. Because when we talk about in all over the world, the friends, we are not getting the same category of the tourists. We are getting the varieties of the tourists. Yes, the people, the persons are having the pockets, they are availing the five-star properties, the five-star hotels. And the person who has no money and just simply having the money, then he or she is not taking the life in such a way like the aristocrats or the richest persons in the world. So from that point of view, there are in all over the world, there are the majority of the people difference. There were the majority of the people who are living under the poverty, who are leading the miserable life. And in the meantime, dear friends, why alternative accommodation is required? Yes, the alternative accommodation is required because it is the outcome of the country's strategy. That we must keep in mind, my friends. It is the country's strategy. If the country fails to mitigate the demands of the five-star hotels, for your information regarding the five-star properties, and in the meantime, there are the other sections of the tourists in the world who we are just suffering, who we are just searching how to exist by getting the minimum requirements, by getting the minimum satisfactions. And in this regard, they may not reach at the five-star properties, or we may talk about they may not reach at the five-star properties. They may reach at the motels. They may reach at the subsidy home. They may reach at the paying guests. They may reach at the different wage difference. And in this regards, just we are going to discuss the we are talking about the objectives. Under which objectives are keeping in view of the goals. Now coming to your friends, we are talking about the alternative accommodations. Come to the point. It can be studied under the three major objectives, dear friends. The first one is that is the plan for the developing socially, economically alternative accommodations. That kind of the accommodation could mitigate the millions of the tourists, the millions of the customers, and the we may talk about customers, or we may talk about the consumers. Keeping in view of that, just I may give the example. If we talk about the toothpaste of the Amoy, it is it is costly. Therefore, in other hand, the company, the producers, have produced the product like the Colgate, like you may talk about the Bajradanti, you may talk about Close-Off, we may talk about Sensodyne. So varieties of the productions have been made by the producer house only because keeping in view of the social conditions of the people, the economic conditions of the people in the society. Everybody wants, I'm sure everybody wants to purchase many things from the destination, but at the meantime, it requires no doubt a sound financial structure. It never be relegated. And the economic condition also being taken care of. It cannot be neglected, it can be taken care of. And now coming to the socially also. If someone is using the glister, it enhances the social prestige. If someone is using the clothes of, the people are saying that just you go for the others, the better one. And this is the gun by gun or the turmeric. So many things are there. So now coming to the second objective, that is called identifying the various types of the alternative ways that we must keep in mind. That we must keep in mind. What is that? That is the alternative accommodations there are in the society. There are the varieties of the alternative accommodations. There is the varieties of the alternative accommodations, and in this context, we are talking about it, friends. That the motels want to talk about it cannot be mitigated by the we may talk about the plutocrats, or we may talk about we may talk about the difference. Most important thing over here, that is the motels, and we may talk about the stay homes. These are the certain parameters, and yeah, these are certain parameters. And in this regard, we're talking about the alternative accommodations are taken into the account. And for this purpose, the states is coming forward, and the marketing managers, they are also thinking that the alternative accommodation is quite failed because in all over the world, in the different countries, the economic condition or the economic standard of the people is not equal or equally treated. And from that point of view, friends, we are going to discuss the another objectives, that is understand the meaning and the importance of the alternative accommodations. Yes, if we talk about how to locate it in 21st century, the alternative accommodations, yes, we must keep in mind, dear friends, the alternative accommodations play a vital role because it is just like the seat anchor to pull the marketing systems of the tourism. Or we may talk about, therefore its name is the accommodation marketing. Now, going to discuss difference regarding the alternative accommodation. We must keep in mind in all over the world there are so many, the large scale of tourists who are not satisfied in the star category hotels. So many tourists are there. They're not satisfied with the star hotels. They didn't prefer when to talk about. It is not a basis on the basis of the financial constraints. Also, it is not permitted by their physics, or physically they were not permitted. And keeping in view of that, dear friends, a large number of the tourists of the national, international, regional, and intra-regional, yes, we see that all the tourists are not satisfied always, or to stay in the five-star category hotels. And in the meantime, they were searching at the Globetrotters. They were searching the another window, and in this context, the another window is treated as the alternative accommodations. The alternative accommodations. So now, dear friends, we are talking about. Therefore, whenever the tourists are not satisfied, keeping in view of their satisfaction, the entrepreneurs, the producers, the hoteliers, they are coming forward to open up the alternative accommodations. And in this regard, dear friends, the various considerations required for the developing and promoting the alternative accommodations. And now, sometimes the questions are now unabated. Sometimes the questions are unabated. What is alternative accommodations? What is? So simply we say that alternative accommodation can be taken into the consideration that it is a kind of accommodation, and this type of accommodation which are available outside the formal and organized accommodation sector. No need of any decorations, no need of any the proper locations, because a group of tourists of the national, international, regional, and intra-regional, they prefer just to spend the time on under the sky, in the open sky system. And just they are having, if you may talk about the alternative accommodation, is corresponding to the eco retreat, a new concept that has been emerged in the different part of the globe, or more particularly in Odisha of India, the eco retreat that is started in the month of the December, and it should continue near about 1 2 months. Whenever the tourists from the different part they are coming to the eco retreat point, they are just under the nature, like we may talk about the tambu, or we may talk about the it is in among the midst of the natures, dear friends. And now, whenever we talk about it, yes, I told, we may consider as an alternative any form of the accommodation that is different from that which generally accepted the tourist accommodation. If we talk the hotel are the tourist accommodations, you may talk about the resort is the tourist accommodation. You may talk the eco-retreat the tourist accommodation. Beyond of it, there are, if you may go to the rural areas, or as you means the inter-regional level or the inter-regional tourists, they prefer to stay the times, or they having the accommodations among the villages, and they were living just like the villagers. And regarding this, the alternative tourism accommodation in India, Kerala is one of the most advanced state in India, because it is because what? Dear friends, Kerala is well tuned up. Kerala is well tuned up in context to the World Tourism Organization. But World Tourism Organization promoted according to the time, according to the urgency of the requirement, the demands of the customers and the tourists. The Kerala is supplying it. I'm talking to. And also they are getting not the abundant of facilities in the alternative accommodations. The tourists are not getting the facilities of the star hotels, but they are getting the very natural facilities. And I'm talking about the development is generally linked with the demand. And the alternative accommodations is not all weather, all seasonal accommodations. If demand is there is the alternative accommodations being formed. And in the when we are talking about, there are the various forms of the alternative accommodations. There are various forms of the accommodations that we may talk about. The forms of the accommodations, if we talk about in India, particularly, whenever we talk about in India, uh, in India, perhaps the best known form of the alternative accommodation in all over the world in comparison to the world. Here, some accommodations are provided according to the Indian style hotels. Like if defense and a tourist move to the Delhi's Paharganj, if we are talking about in case of India is concerned. Suppose in Delhi, Paharganj is a good example of such accommodation. Why I'm talking to? So the travel guides in several European countries describe the areas as a tourist paradise. Which areas? The Paharganj area of Delhi. And why I'm talking about it is the tourist paradise because in Paharganj, though there is no the star hotels, but the tourists are getting the extra, the exceptional avenues. And for your information, in the Paharganj area, there is 10,000 rooms, and I'm talking about in 350 listed accommodations unit. Just imagine, dear friends. So Paharganj is suitable for each and every sections of the tourists, and it is also dependent on the I told social and the economically. Alternative to accommodations has been emerged. It is only because of our keeping in view of the economic standard of the people. And for the budget domestic visitors making an extended stay, just paying 200 rupees per day, which is not a big task to the tourists or the customers as a whole. And in this regard, also one can get, you can have a room with all basic facilities. What exactly I pointed out that the alternative accommodations doesn't equal to the five stars or the five stars facilities, but the basic facilities one can get just paying the 200 rupees per day, which is not the big task, which is not the big issues in part of the tourists of national, international, regional, and the interregional. The same thing happened when you talk about the Manali of Himachal Pradesh. One can move there. There is the short stay home. And sometimes, the houses are given on the basis of the rent for 10 days, 5 days. And there is a package of the 5,000 for 10 days. It means per day 500 rupees. It is not the big cost. And in this regard, dear friends, we are talking about these are the alternative accommodations. And even if it is happened, the area is also accessible because it borders the New Delhi railway station, and the local residents began to convert their properties in the late 1970s and the work of the promotion of the Delhi for the Asian Games. I'm talking about in the year 1970s. And keeping in view of that certain events, certain games, or the certain activities, tourist activities, in the Paharganj areas, dear friends, the people, they have converted their residence into the style like the hotels, just providing the basic needs and keeping in view of the target. I am talking about in the tourism marketing. Who is the target one? And keeping in view of that, the alternative accommodation is most important, and it is one of the another important part of the accommodation marketing. If we talk about in the international concept, I'm talking not in Uttar Pradesh also. In the location like the Spiti, then we talk about Zanskar, we're talking about Nubra Valley on or even the hills and the glaciers of the Uttar Pradesh of Himachal Pradesh. The trekkers, the mountaineers are trekking to new ways of finding shelters in the log of the beyond. If people see that, then even if the tents, I told the tents, they have also used extending the designer Swiss cottage luxury tents provided by the tourism task force of the ITDC. And even if we are talking about the pyramidal shape, when to talk about the tent is constant, it is the pyramid in shape, it is the dome shaped and alpine shapes. So difference we are talking about the camps also the part of the alternative the accommodations. And another question comes when to talk about the accommodations marketing. And in this context, dear friends, we are focusing another aspects that is called alternative accommodation and the sustainability. So question is here for your information, dear friends, that is the alternative accommodation is seen. The alternative accommodation is seen as being an alternative to the demand of the mass tourism. When to talk with the hoteliers, the star hotels, as the part of the accommodation marketing, it is keeping in view of a particular group of the tourists. But when to talk with alternative tourists, the accommodation, it targets the mass tourism and it indicates the small scale and the local controlled and the developed based on the local nature and we may talk about your friends culture and also ensuring a consciousness of environmental and carrying capacity norms. Question comes, dear friends, when to talk about the alternative accommodation that is most important aspects of the accommodation marketing. Here, one must keep in mind the budget, particularly that kind of the accommodation is meant for the middle class tourists and who having the minimum budget. And within the minimum budget, they wanted to have the more benefits, more satisfactions, more requirements. And in this regard, in its concept, design, and operations, that you must keep in mind, dear friends. And as long as this form of the accommodation provides the broadcast range possibilities, it will be the both economically and the social beneficial. So difference the alternative accommodation and its sustainability, yes, it can be because it is difficult to eradicate the economic imbalance between the upper class, the high class, the tourist, and the tourist belong to the middle class or the lower middle class. So from that point of view, for the sustainability of the alternative accommodation, yes, the it is important. It is controlled by the locally and the local people. We call it at the inter-regional level. They enhance it. That is called the alternative accommodations. And for its sustainability, they are trying their level best to provide the best satisfaction, the service to the customers. And in this regard, dear friends, I am talking about uh, the awareness. Another important thing is here, the awareness too. We may talk about the alternative market communication as a means or the alternative marketing and the sustainability promotes the local culture. One thing and awareness about the environment. So now coming to there are the supplementary accommodations I'm talking about. The another aspects of the accommodation marketing, dear friends. This is called the supplementary accommodation. We have gone through the accommodations, the benefits, the advantages, disadvantages, and the problems and the challenges faced by whom? Faced by the star hotels. And keeping in view of that, a new concept that has been emerged, we call it the alternative tourism, alternative accommodation. And now we are coming to the supplementary accommodation. What is the concept of the supplementary accommodations? So difference of the supplementary accommodations exactly we mean uh, just a stepping stone in absentia of the alternative tourist accommodation and the five-star hotels or the star category hotels, which the place which provides the shelter, which provides the satisfaction to the tourists. This is known as the supplementary accommodations. And we're talking about to understand in this context, there are four major objectives, keeping in view of it. Number one, understand the meaning of the supplementary accommodation. We're talking about to understand the meaning. Number two, its importance and the role as far as the tourism marketing is concerned. The third one is types of the supplementary accommodations. And the fourth one difference, we're talking about know how to market these different types, how to market motels, how to market we may talk about the youth hostels, Yatriniwas, or we may talk about the caravans, we may talk about the camping grounds, the tourist camps. Also, we're talking about the railway or airport retiring rooms. We're talking about the travelers' lodges and the boarding houses. We're talking about the hotel, garni, and we're talking about the uh, yes, for your information, dear friends, condominium names. So, question comes to our mind regarding the supplementary accommodations. And in this regard, we must keep in mind, dear friends, when to define the supplementary accommodation, uh, there are number of establishments outside the hotel industry and that supplies the accommodation facilities to whom to the tourists. For example, supplementary accommodations in India are provided by the sarais, by the dharmashalas, on the principle of their travel can make do the accommodation, if not hotel service when on a holiday. So it is the fact when the holidays in come to the Puri, there are so many dharmashalas are there. Whenever the tourists are fail to have the five-star or the star hotels at the meantime, they are accommodate in the dharmashalas, the sarais, even if the Bhagavad Chungis too. And coming to the supplementary accommodation, we mean which is specially designed to cater to the tourists where hotels accommodation may not be available or may be beyond the budget of the tourists. This is called the supplementary accommodations. Suppose A is tourists, not only in case of India, in all over the world, in the African states too, in the Southeast Asian countries, everywhere difference, we are talking about the supplementary accommodations are there because the purpose of the tourism industry is the tourism marketing is how to reach the maximum customers, how to reach are the maximum tourists. It may be the national, international, it may be the regional and the intra-regional, whatever it may be. And therefore, there the alter supplementary accommodations sprung up, where there is the absence of the star hotels in one hand, and in other hands, beyond the budget of the tourists. And at the meantime, this kind of accommodations are sprung up. And for your information, the supplementary accommodations have some basic criteria. Basic criteria, I am talking to it. And in this regard, when to talk about the basic criteria, I'm talking about it provide the furnished accommodation, either rented rooms or apartments, or related to the investment that is being planned for the development of infrastructure in consonance with an overall promotional strategy. So, dear friends, when we talk about the supplementary accommodations, usually we are getting the country clause. Sometimes even today, the country clubs is more facilitated, and not only in India but also in all over the world. That is through the country club, one can how to say visit to one destination to another destination. Then we talk with holidays, we are talking with holiday villages. The travelers' losses and inns were set up at the different locations. What exactly I told here, the absence of the star hotels. And now coming to difference, the motel is the part of motel, as you know, motel is the part of the supplementary accommodations. Motel is the part of the supplementary accommodations. The question comes, what is the motels? Generally, motels form the part of the supplementary accommodations. Generally, the motels are happen on the roadsides as well as at the in the peripheries. Motels are available because they are set off to cater to the automobile tourists. I told you, automobile tourists, the tourists who are travel a destination. I were talking with the automobile tourists. And in the meantime, that motels were opened beside of the highway systems, particularly in the bypass of the cities. And in this regard, defense, the role of the motels became increasingly important. In 2023, if I may just taking the example of Bhubaneswar, the modern capital city, just 50 years back, just 50 years back, what the motels were not in function in Bhubaneswar, okay, NH as it means, or the bypass of the cities. Now it is multilinear, it is multiplied. Why? Because keeping in view, keeping of the grievances of the tourists. Now coming to motels provide the auto conveniences like the parking. It has the enough the various facilities, the safe rooms, the few staff oriented services, as well as the catering and the bar facilities, along with recreation facilities like the swimming, the tennis. So these are known as the motels, and these are happen on the roadsides, particularly the bypass. And it is the fact the difference the motels are three types of the motels. We're talking about it, the first side difference that is called the roadside motels, the resort motels, and we are talking about the suburban motels. So they can provide the minimum, middle level, as well as the luxury services. What exactly the motto of the accommodation marketing is that a tourist needs more satisfaction in means of in transaction in lieu of the lesser economic investment that I'm talking the motel supplies. So therefore, day by day, the motels are increased their fans in all over India. Now coming to the another aspects. What is that? That we may talk about the motels generally provide the minimum, middle level, and luxury services. In India, it is the state, I told, the government tourism department that have provided motels in states where road transport and travel are important, like we talk about Punjab, we may talk about the Haryana, we may talk about Uttar Pradesh and Rajasthan. So there the large number of the motels are working and supplying the service and the satisfactions to the tourists. And motels are essentially for overnight halls. But in India, they have become important for weekend visits. And with the introduction of the services, when to talk about the air condition which is given, the motels are supplied, the restaurant services also given, the phone services, television facilities, and we will talk about the attached bath and the toilet. So motels are attracting the higher income travelers right now. Motels have helped the tourism industry in face of the challenges or we may talk about the changing trends of the tourist behaviors. So the motels, the travel account, as means the accommodation marketing, all we are taken into the account, keeping the view of the demands of the tourists, because of tourists are the central character whenever we may talk about the accommodation marketing is concerned. So now coming to dear friends, the youth hostels is the another part. Uh, in this context, we must keep in mind the youth took to travel on foot, or may talk about the high-tech hiking both from the cities as well as to the countryside for educations. Yes, it has happened in all over the in India, all over the world might happen. It has happened. That is the youths. They are moving. They are transferring from the village areas to the cities, to the city areas, only because to have to pursue education. Only because to have or to pursue education and the adventures, the recreations. So therefore, they wanted that kind of the accommodations which is not equal to the motels or to equal to the stars hotels. They prefer the simple the youth hostels. If you may talk about in Germany, for your information, took the lead in establishing the youth hostels in the large scale in the world. And at the turn of the century, so youth hostels provide the dormitory accommodations that must keep in mind, dear friends. It is not the big issue, the difficult to understand. I'm talking about the what? The youths. They are usually spending the time in the youth hostels. You may talk about in Bhubaneswar, in Puri, you may talk about in the Odisha of India, in Germany, in the different parts of the country. So they also provide the kitchen for self-catering. It is the most ameliorating which talk about tourism industry is concerned. There is the self-catering facilities, self-service in a low-cost cafeteria facilities, and we talk about in the low-cost environment, encourage the youth tourism movement, and World Tourism Organization encourage all member countries to construct the hostels because keeping in the view of the demands of the youth, because the youths are transferred, they're traveling one place to another, keeping in view of the education, adventure, as well as the recreations. And in this regard, therefore, we are talking about the Jatan Nivas also is the part of it. And now we may talk about the Yatri Nivas. It's the seminal concept of the alternative accommodations. It provides generally the regional tourists, intra-regional tourists, and the national tourists at a low cost self-service accommodation. Tal Jatnivas exactly we mean the domestic tourists who are getting the shelter, getting the facilities and the amenities by paying the low cost with the self-service accommodation. So the first such facility was constructed to talk about in the Janpath of Delhi, Delhi area, it attracting the budget tourists. It is the fact that when to talk about the low budget tourist, that is maxims when to talk about in the world is concerned. And keeping the view of that, the Nivas is the best target, best destination, or we may talk about the tourist product as far as the accommodation marketing is concerned. And now we are going to discuss about it, dear friends. Uh, the caravans, I'm talking about the next point is the caravans. Caravans, the camping grounds and the tourist camps. Also, these are the part of the alternative accommodations. If we talk about in the Delhi of India, has two such locations in the Asaf Ali Road and the Kashmir Gate. Dear friends, these two locations, we are getting the lots of the caravans, camping grounds, and the tourist camps. They provide the parking space along with the water, electricity, and the toilet. And if I talk about in the other part of India, that is called the Goa, the Khajuraho, Aurangabad, where we notice a large number of the caravans. Camps must follow certain regulations regarding the quality of the service and the cost set off by the municipalities. I'm talking about it, friends. These are also the another part of the alternative the accommodations. And now coming to move to the railways, the airport retiring rooms. Everybody knows when to it is happening in the different states of the world. The purpose is what? The purpose, that kind of accommodation is the temporary halt. So the purpose of the retiring room accommodation is to offer a convenience to the traveler without going into the city. Because it is the fact whenever the train is late or mistake is the train is cancelled at the meantime. The tourists they spend the time in the retiring room rather to move to the countries want to move to the city sides. There is the possibilities of the cost because cost is important factor is determine the accommodation marketing system. And mainly when to talk about the airport retiring rooms or we may talk about the railway retiring rooms are generally appeared situated at the main platform of the major railway stations and at the domestic and the international airports. It is happening to talk about Bhubaneswar, the capital city of Odisha of India is concerned. And it is a fact. They provide the accommodations to railway passengers who having the confirmed and the current tickets. Similarly, the air passengers from out of town or we may talk about or in transit. Similarly, dear friends, I'm talking about the travelers' lodges also have the boarding houses also come under the I'm talking about the alternative what to say the accommodations. And similarly, dear friends, the paying guest accommodation, a new concept. It is everywhere in all over the India, all over the world is it available. Many tourists prefer homestay. Home, I'm talking about the homestays to institutional accommodations. And this brings in the concept of a paying guest. We are talking about the PGC, PG paying guest accommodation offered by the individual household at destinations. Whenever we talk about every tourist destinations, the locals, the stakeholders, they have created, they have constructed the homes, and where the tourist also can staying as the paying guest per day 250 or 350, having within that ranges. Even if I noticed that in Bhubaneswar it was once upon a time, the paying guest concept was there just paying per month, only the for 400 500 rupees per month. And the paying guest accommodation is in more popular in Europe and it's given the proper backing. And dear friends, whenever we talk about the paying guest concept, yes, there is taken into the account of the health and hygienic considerations, the proper toilet facilities, decor of the rooms, and eating facilities. So all of things are available when to talk about the paying guest accommodation is concerned. And that if you talk about the holiday homes at the tourist destinations, the friends, like the village, the cottage, apartments. So these are the destinations where the people, the tourists, can pay the money on the basis of the money, per day basis. I'm talking about. And similarly, the thing is happened. The advantages of the paying accommodation is it helps the visitors gain an entry in the community, resulting in a feeling of the being at your home. So that is the most important thing here. Therefore, the paying guest accommodations is more precarious whenever we talk about or more popular in context to the friends I'm talking about in context to the cities. And it was all about the paying guest concepts, as a part of the alternative for your information, dear friends. It is the alternative uh, accommodations, achievements. The last but not the least, I mean, we are reaching to the last part. How far the linkages in the trade Unit 8 or 28, we are going to discuss difference. We discuss in this context. The trade is interlinked, therefore linkages in the trade. So tourism as it means a trade and commerce as the part and parcel of the trade and commerce. And the tourism marketing is one of the best marketing ever achievements. And in this regard, why we may select, why we study on it, linkages in the trade. Yes, dear friends, we study it only because of two interlinkage in the trade is interdependence of these constituents achievements. Or when I talk about the business relationship is not confined to a particular community, to a particular sections, to a particular organizations, and it is a number of what we have already discussed. Tourism industry is not an unitary industry. Dear friends, that we must keep in mind. It is the industry of the varieties of the organizations involved worked together to just to act as the ship anchor to pull the industry, what to say, the tourism marketing. And the difference when to talk about the linkage in the trade, it can be studied under the constituents we must keep in mind. The ultimate tourism product is a package. We're talking about the alternative tourism product is a package. Why? Now it includes the destinations that we must keep in mind, dear friends. It includes the destinations. Number two, transport. Number three, the accommodations. Number four, the food and beverage. Number five, the entertainment. And we're talking about the shops and the emporiums. And the question comes, dear friends, besides, we talk about it. These are the primary constituents. What I told, the destination, transport, the accommodations, food and beverage, the entertainment, the recreations, events, shops and the emporiums. And besides, there are certain supplementary constituents which supplies a good deal of the knowledge only because to accumulate the tourist experience at a destination. So a tourist gets a lot of the information, the experiences from each and every tourist destination. It may be the national, international, or may talk about a regional or the intra-regional. When we talk about the Great Wall of the China, it is and the international tourist destinations. So we should talk about a village in all over the world. The villages possess the number of the tourist product, the tourist destinations. And keeping in view of the primary constituents, there are some sorts of the secondary constituents that never be neglected. And what are these, dear friends? These are, I'm talking about, these are the guides. The guides' expertise is quite important to generate, to facilitate the tourism marketing. Because everything, dear friends, I want to talk about the tourism industry exclusively based on the target customers. So I talk about the tourists. If the tourist doesn't flux to any destination, there is the lesser possibilities of the development of the destinations. Or the tourism marketing cannot be properly carried and properly worked out. And in this regard, I'm talking about different some supplementary constituents. Who we are they? We are the guides, I told. Second, we talk about the escorts. Then we talk about the facilitations at the entry points. Because of every destination in all over the world have its own entry point. And at the entry point, if just one can go to the, I'm talking about, in Rohtang Pass in Himachal Pradesh. There is the Atal Tunnel is there, the longest tunnel in the Asia. And if people see that, one can notice that of what the facilities he or say a tourist is getting at the entry points. Then we talk about the ecology and the environment, the attitudes of the host population, health and the hygienic conditions and the securities. So if we talk about it today, when to talk of the trading linkage is concerned, at each and every tourist destinations, there is the banking services. And the banking services in form of, we are talking about the credit cards and the insurance services for the travel insurance. Whenever the tourist travels for a long travels, or we may talk of the hilly areas traveling by the tourists to the hilly areas, it requires the travel insurance. Then the postal and the telecommunication services, yes, it is happened, your friends. There is the possibilities of the mishaps might have happened on your tours. So keeping the view of all the we may talk about, we can say that each of these has developed its own specialized areas of service to the tourists. So now coming to dear friends, there are another three important how far the linkage in the trade I am talking to. So tourism industry is a compound one. The tourism marketing is a compound one because it cannot progress, cannot successful, or it cannot be more facilitated keeping in view of one organization only. It can be facilitated keeping in view of a number of organizations, a number of personnels, number of the people working together or involved in a large scale. So now, dear friends, there are, as per the linkage is concerned in the trade, there are the interdependencies made. Then I'm talking about the business relations, the joint promotions, and the joint action. So, dear friends, whenever we talk about the business relations, yes, there is the relationship case of India is concerned. I'm talking to. That is, there is the relationship to promote the tourism industry, to promote the tourism industry, or we may talk about it to promote the tourist product. If we may talk about ITDC and the Indian Airlines, they made the arrangements that any LTC travelers who flies by the Indian Airlines will be given 20% discount if he or she stays in an ITDC hotels. So this is I'm talking about the business linkage. And the tourism exactly we talk about tourism is a trade that we must keep in mind, dear friends. As tourism is a trade, there are the different organizations, the public sectors, the private sectors, or we may talk about the insurance. So all the organizations are interdependent, including the tour and operators, the travel agencies. So all are integrated to each other, including the food and beverage. So there is a transaction of the business. Suppose a destination, highest number of the tourists influx is there. Like we talk about the Great Wall, the Taj of India, you mean the pyramid we may talk about in Egypt, or the in all over the world I am talking about it. So there is the linkage. If there is the large scale of the tourists, influx of the tourists, there is the requirement of the accommodations of the star category hotels. We talk about the hotel, the motels. We talk about the resorts. We talk about the supplementary for your information, I'm talking about your friends. The alternative accommodation or the supplementary accommodations. So everything is interlinked. So therefore, from the above discussions, we have been discussed, we have been reached at the conclusion, dear friends, that is called the joint promotions. So the state government, state tourism corporation, the Department of Tourism, OTTC, Odisha Tourism Development Corporation, ITDC, Indian Tourism Development Corporations, and they are even in the public sectors, the public organizations, they all are working together, the artisans too. So in this regard, we may talk about we are familiar, or this in this unit we have gone through in details about accommodation marketing is the core aspects of the tourism marketing as well as the tourism industry. And in this regard, because the tourists they need the satisfactions, and the satisfactions must generate from the accommodations. So in all over the world, each and every country is now trying their level best. I'm talking about each right now. They are. selling. They are competing to each other. The accommodations, through accommodation, they are trying to reach out the tourists by supplying their satisfaction, their needs. So, in this context, we dear friends discussed about the star category of hotels, alternate the accommodations, supplementary accommodations, and linkage in the trade. And with this, we are going to sum up the tourism marketing and more particularly the accommodation marketing system. Thank you, dear friends, for the presence hearing. Thank you.